Hello, my name is Isaac and welcome back to this presentation. In this presentation, I will explain the issue about the standard-based curriculum 166 structure in schools. Now, what is standard-based curriculum or SBC? It is an educational framework or structure that defines what students should know, what students should understand, and what they can do in each grade level. The SBC focuses on mastering specific learning targets, and it aligns the instruction, assessment, and the reporting or the evaluation of criteria rather than focusing solely on covering the textbooks. The standard-based curriculum or SBC in Papua New Guinea was officially introduced to replace the outcome-based education or OBE system following the NEC decision number 194 in 2008 with active rollout training starting around 2015 to 2016. It was fully rolled out to all elementary and primary levels after criticism of prior system. The SBC was introduced to address the failing education standards by providing a clear goal, define a set of knowledge and competencies for students to achieve. SBC is more focuses on what the teachers should teach and what the students should know and understand and be able to do, aiming for higher globally cooperated standard. This is the structure of the SBC or standard-based curriculum. Component of the SBC structure include early childhood, so 2 years preschool period, and primary education from grade 1 up to 6, with grade 1 and 2 moving from elementary to primary schools, and secondary education, which include grade 7 to 12, combining junior high school and senior high schools. The design of the SBC include identifying the end of year goals or benchmark first, and then create the units and lesson plans, and finally develop the assessments that test these standards or benchmarks. The SBC syllabus defines the standards, the content, and performance measures. The teacher's guide for the SBC or standard-based curriculum outlines the pedagogical approach, lesson structure, and assessment strategies. The student textbooks of the SBC curriculum aligns with the new content standards. The following points concerning the SBC will be discussed. First, comparing the strategies between outcome-based and standard-based. Second, comparing the advantages between the standard-based and the outcome-based. And finally, the gaps between the standard-based and the outcome-based. These are the following points that will be discussed concerning the issues about the standard-based or SBC curriculum.
SBC 166 curriculum system has 3 stages. First one, year 1 early learning, 6 years primary school, and 6 years secondary school. So first they spend 1 year in early learning where children are prepared for school by learning basic skills like speaking, counting, and social interaction. Next, they go to 6 years of primary school where they learn basic subjects like English, math, science, and social studies. After that, they move to 6 years of secondary school where they study more advanced subjects and prepare for exams and further education. The main strategy of SBC comes from outcome-based education, which is OBE, where teachers focus on what the students should be able to do at the end of each grade, not just what topics they cover. In SBC curriculum, every subject has 2 standards, content standard and performance standard. So content standard explains what students should learn, and performance standard tells us tells how well they should do with what they have learned. Another strategy is continuous assessment. Students are tested and checked all the way from prep to grade 12. There are no exams at grade 8 or grade 9 or grade 10 anymore. The model wants all students to move through schools without being forced to leave early, or every children must have basic education. The main idea of the strategies and the recommendation for the SBC 166 curriculum in Papua New Guinea is to make learning more useful, practical, and suitable for students' real lives. Now, the first one, teaching should focus more on skills, not just memorizing notes. Students should learn things that can use in everyday life and future jobs. The school should use practical activities like projects, group work, and hands-on learning instead of only classroom theory. Teachers need training and support so that they can teach the new curriculum properly. The curriculum should include local culture and community knowledge so students understand their own environment better. Schools should have enough resources like books, tools, and equipment to support students' learning. And lastly, assessment should look at what students can do and not only what they can write in. First, students should achieve when they finish school. Then we plan the lessons and activities back from the goal. PNG also borrowed ideas from other countries like Australia and New Zealand that uses the standard-based curriculum. The implementation of this model are the teachers. They plan lessons around the standard base instead of just following the textbook. Head teachers, officers, and the Department of Education also help teachers to use the curriculum. The implementees are the students. All students from elementary, prep to grade 12 are the part of this. The SBC 166 model is designed to work in all 13 years of school, which is from the prep, year 1 to grade 12. With the new model, grade 7 to 12 are joined together as one full secondary school block. This means students can stay in school until grade 12. The idea is that if teachers are trained well and resources are available, the model can be effective at every stage. In short, the SBC 166 curriculum model is not just about adding more years to school. It is a new way of thinking about education. It focuses on clear standards, what students can actually do, and keep students in school longer so they have a better chance of education.
The advantages of using standard-based curriculum compared to the outcome-based in Papua New Guinea. In Papua New Guinea, the standard-based curriculum or the SBC is considered more effective than the outcome-based curriculum because it provides clear benchmark, improved literacy and numeracy, and it ensures consistency across schools. The OBC was criticized for being vague, difficult to assess, and poorly implemented, leading to widespread public demand for its replacement. And this one was taken from the PNG Education News standard-based curriculum. That's the website. So now I will be talking about the advantages of using standard-based curriculum over the outcome-based curriculum. So the number one is clarity and structure. The SBC provides specific standards and grade level expectation, making learning goals transparent for teachers and students. However, on the other hand, the OBC focused on broad outcomes that were often vague and difficult to measure, leaving teachers uncertain about what to prioritize. So number two is assessment and accountability. The SBC is easier to assess students' progress because benchmarks are measurable and standardized. On the other hand, the OBC assessment was inconsistent, with teachers struggling to design reliable tools to measure broad outcomes. Number three, to improve literacy and numeracy. In SBC, early reports show stronger emphasis on foundational skills like reading, writing, and mathematics, which were weak under OBC. On the other hand, OBC literacy rate remained low, with many provinces reporting proficiency below 15%. And this one was taken from role of government and teachers training, PNG, Papua New Guinea National Research Institute. So number 4 is consistency across schools. SBC ensures all schools, whether urban or rural, follow the same standard, reducing inequality in education delivery. On the other hand, the OBC implementation varied widely, with rural schools especially struggling due to lack of resources and teachers training. So number 5 is teacher support. SBC provides syllabus, teachers guide, and script lesson, especially in early grades, giving teachers practical tools. This one was taken from Springer, revising the reform, standard-based education. So to conclude this one, the standard-based curriculum is more effective than the outcome-based curriculum in Papua New Guinea because it provides clarity, measurable progress, and consistency, addressing many of the weaknesses that plague OBC. However, its success depends on adequate teachers training, the resources, and integration of local cultural contexts to ensure relevance for students across Papua New Guinea. Thank you. That's all for me.
The key gaps in 166 SBC structure. First of all, transition discontinuity occurs at the 16 and 66 breakpoints. Rigid state boundaries disrupt learning progression and often misalign assessment cycles with development and readiness, focusing learners into artificial cohort milestones, according to Darling, Hammond 2020 and NCCA 2019. Second, assessment and misalignment. Persist the SBC's emphasis on standardized benchmark frequently outspaces teacher capacity and infrastructure, particularly in under-resourced schools. This triggers teaching to the test rather than authentic competency development. UNECCO 2021. Third, the structure lacks built-in flexibility for diverse learners. Linear progression assumes uniform pacing, leaving little room for remediation, acceleration, or inclusive differentiation. Learners with varied readiness levels are funneled through identical standard without adaptive scaffolding. OECD 2018. And finally, curriculum overload. It is a systematic issue. Densely packed standard leave insufficient instructional time for experiential learning, local contextualization, and higher order thinking, ultimately diluting the competency-driven intent of the SBC, according to Akiampong et al. 2020. Comparison with other curriculum structure. When contrasted with alternative models, these gaps become more pronounced. Traditional content-based systems, for instance, 1634, say transition fractured but often maintain clear summative assessment alignment, albeit at the cost of critical thinking, continuous competency-based curriculum, and also placed competency milestones, which reduces high-stakes exam pressure, though it faces its own resourcing challenges. KICD 2017. Internationally, frameworks like the IB Middle Years program use continuous interdisciplinary design that minimizes structural breakpoints, embeds learner agency, and align assessment with development progression. IBO 2020, the 166 SBC, by contrast, retains a rigid cohort-based architecture that prioritizes standardization over adaptability, making it less responsive to individual learning trajectories. To bridge these gaps, policymakers should consider modularizing transition, strengthening formative assessment literacy among teachers, embedding inclusive pacing pathways, and rationalizing standards to prioritize depth over outreach. Without structural flexibility and capacity building, the SBC's equity and competency goals will remain constrained by its own design.
You go enroll in